All right, so first thing I want to do is just kind of show you about around the workspace for Photoshop, and there's some main areas you're going to need to know. First of all, on the left, this is the tool bar. This is where you're going to access all the main tools. You might have yours set to 2 by 2. It might also be one line like this. With each of these tools, sometimes there's a family of tools where if you see the little caret in the bottom right-hand corner, if you hold down your mouse on it, you'll see other tools with it. And it's a little different in this newer version than past versions of Photoshop because there are some tools that we didn't used to have in Photoshop, like the ability to do artboards. And we can talk about that at a later point. But that's the toolbar. Any tool that you click on there, if you end up working with one of these tools, you're going to see different options across the top. So we'll open up a new file in a few, and I'll show you guys that. I'll show you what happens when you're working with different tools. But for instance, if you use the text tool, you're going to see options like font size, color, justification, it's left, center, or right. And then even like this warping tool, there's going to be different options. And so this is the options bar up here. Above that, you have the regular file menu. Couple of things you need to know. Obviously, with anything that you've ever done with Microsoft or any other programs, when you're using the file menu, that's going to be where you're saving stuff. So opening, saving, administrative kind of stuff where you're taking care of your files. Importing, exporting, and exiting, although you can also exit there like normal. Edit, you're going to have all the copy and paste kind of stuff, but you're also going to have some different transforms and warps. And we'll talk about free transform and warps later. Image is going to be a menu that pertains specifically to a whole image. And that might be you're changing the size of your canvas, or you are changing the color mode, or maybe you're adjusting the tone, contrast, or color for the entire image. So that's going to apply to an entire image. Now with Photoshop, one of the features that has always set Photoshop apart from other graphics editing software, which then they started duplicating it, is the ability to work with layers. What layers allows you to do is have a background layer and then layers on top of layers, so you can move things around independently. You can have different elements, you can have text layer where you can make the text underlap something or overlap something. So you can switch layers around. You can also do different effects and styles with them. You can also make layers transparent or opaque by adjusting the opacity, and we'll talk about that stuff eventually as well. The type menu is going to have all things having to do with using the type tool, the text tool. So you should be able to, if it's not already in the options bar for text, you should be able to access things that you might need within type. Select, one thing that you do a lot of in Photoshop when you're like moving things around, or you're trying to color a certain area but not the rest of the picture, is you use a selection tool. And selecting is just kind of like a stencil of sorts, but it also allows you to move things. So there's all kinds of different things associated with selecting, which we'll talk about. Filters are going to be effects. You're going to have all kinds of different things with that, ranging from, doing things to make your picture look like a painting, to pixelating things if you wanted to give it like a pixelated effect. But there's all kinds of different effects with filters. And 3D, we won't mess with too much in here just because we don't really have the graphics support for that. But 3D is definitely what it sounds like. You're making things look 3D. There's other ways you can make things look 3D, though, like layer styles and stuff. We'll talk about that. View is going to be something that you'll access in different ways. Like zooming in and zooming out, you can do simply by using Control minus and Control plus. Obviously, we don't have anything open, so you can't zoom in and out of that, but I'm going to show you some tricks with that. But if you ever need to access the menu to do those things, you can do that from there. Window. Window is going to have all kinds of different panels that you'll work with. And in some cases, you may never use them. Some you may always use them. But if you look over to the right, these are the panels that I'm talking about that you would find in Window. And right now, it just has color, which is that one. Swatches, which is the next one over. And you can see these are checked. Layers, which is down here. And some of these are done in clusters. So you got libraries, adjustments, styles. When you click on certain tabs, it might expand things a certain way. So you can see what those things are. But these are all the different panels, and these can be moved around. You can grab your layers and drag it somewhere else if you need it somewhere else. You can also drag it back in, and it will turn blue on you, and you'll know that it's about to dock. So you can move things around on here. And in the upper right, this is called the workspace chooser. I believe that's the official name. Let me see what they call it on here. They don't have it listed on there. They call it palettes on here, but I call them panels because you call it palettes, it's kind of implying that it's color, and it's not necessarily all color. Anyways, right now it's set to essentials, but depending on what types of things you want to be able to do, Photoshop is a diverse program. It has diverse applications. You can, like if you know you are going to be working with animation and you want to actually have the timeline view, you can go to motion. And what that'll do is open up the panels that you would need to be able to do some animation. You can also use layers to do animation. So we can explore that at some point if you'd like. Painting, we know that that's going to have to do more with the brushes, things that you might use the tablet with, colors, things like that. Photography, you're going to be more concerned with adjustments. So we got the adjustments panel and some other things in there. And then typography, it's going to have all the text-related stuff, including glyphs. So you can also create your own workspaces, and that's something I think we end up doing today. So that's like mainly everything with Photoshop as far as where things are. What we're going to do first is I want you guys to go ahead and follow these directions here where it says go to the window on the menu bar. So go to window up there, and in the listing, what we're going to do is click on a few of these things, and I'll just pick out a couple things. Let's go up to brush. So go ahead and click brush on there, and that will open up there. And go to window and open up, we already have color, character. Oh, it's not keeping them open. When it opens, go ahead and pull it off of the thing so that you can keep it. So I'm going back to, what was the other one? I had brush. So grab brush, pull that off of the thing, grab that, pull it off of that. And then we'll get rid of some. So we'll get rid of libraries. So if you click on libraries, just drag that off of the thing, and then you'll see the X appear. Just click X, and that'll close out of it. And we'll just get rid of paths for now, too. So if you go to paths, drag that off, click X. And if you could, go ahead and dock these. Dock these into the same set of things here. So we're taking the brushes, dock, our panels, and the character panel, and just throwing them in there. The way it works is you literally like click and drag it, and when it turns like into a blue line, it's going to put it above that thing that the blue line's at. If you drag it below, you can swap places. If it turns the entire thing blue, it means you're adding those panels to that set of things. So it'll be a tab on there. So just go ahead and try to get some sort of layout like that, just so I can show you how to do this. and then go up to where it says Essentials, and we want to go down to where it says New Workspace. And you can call it your name if you want. You can be like Johnny's Workspace, or you could just like call it Example. Because you might want to create your own custom workspace, but I'm just going to call it Example for now. And once you do that, I'll call mine Example, what period is this? 5? Call mine Example 5. And there's a thing on here that says keyboard shortcuts and menus. You can actually make changes to keyboard shortcuts and menus through the options. We won't be doing that too much because it gets really confusing. But that's why that's in there. But if you go ahead and click Save, bibbidi bobbidi boo. Now, if you go up to Essentials, it goes back to where we were, maybe. Oh, you might have to go Reset Essentials. There you go. So you go to Essentials and Reset Essentials, or you can go to whatever you called that workspace, and it has what you just did set up on there. So you can set up your own workspace based on your, what they call a workflow, meaning like the kinds of tools you use, the options, and panels, and all that stuff. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and